This is my top 10 periwinkle shimmers. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I have my top 10 periwinkle shimmers for you. This is a continuation of my monthly series where I talk about my favorite shimmers in different color categories. And I love me a periwinkle in the springtime, so that's why I thought we could feature those shades right now. There's a couple of things from my singles collection, but most of these are actually in palettes. And in my makeup collection, there is a definite king or queen, depending on whether you feel your palettes are masculine or feminine, when it comes to eyeshadow palettes that have periwinkle shades in, because I found most of them in my Bella Beauté bar palettes. Let's roll. I said top 10, but that's because I have an honorable mention for you, because this little Kaleidos quad, it's the glowing iris, is really pretty. It's got beautiful periwinkles in, but not a periwinkle shimmer. This comes with 3 mattes and 1 shimmer, and the one thing that isn't periwinkle is the actual shimmer that this has. So that's why I was like, it's really only like these 3 shades that give it a periwinkle vibe. So I thought I could feature it here because it actually doesn't have a periwinkle shimmer. Just for the sake of the video, I will be swatching the shimmer so that you have an idea of what it does. But yeah, that's actually just the purple. So that also means we need to talk about what a periwinkle actually is. I did my favorite blurples last month. And a blurple to me is a good mix between a blue and a purple. So it's very sort of much like that in-betweeny kind of shade, but for a periwinkle, as you will see, I feel a periwinkle skews more blue. It's very often for me a light blue with a hint of purple. And that's what most of the shades that I've selected for you are going to fall in. There are a couple that are borderline periwinkle, but else I wouldn't get to 10 shades. So let's preface that. My very, very first favorite ever periwinkle shade is a shade from Inglot that I've had for a very long time. If you saw my single eyeshadow declutter at the start of the month, you know that I decluttered most of my Inglot singles because they were just so old, and let's be real here, most of the shades in that palette I already had. I've kept a couple things here that are these very basic shades that I want to use for setting my eyeshadow with in the future when my MAC eyeshadow runs out, because then I don't have to go out and buy anything new. But it's this shade right here. And this is the, let me see if I can read it while I'm holding it up for you. This is Pearl 429. I don't think they still do this, because I remember looking on the Inglot website a couple of years ago when I was getting myself some Duraline, and none of the shades that I had were still listed. Like the shade numbers I couldn't find anymore. So that was a bit of a shame. And this has always been my favorite. Now the purple in this is really, really subtle. It's more like a light blue, and only in certain lighting. Like this is not going to be like a duochrome of any kind. That's how old the shade is. It's more like a satiny shimmer, but it has this like almost lavender quality to it. It's not just a light blue. And that to me is like the perfect periwinkle. However, as you will see, the more modern rendition of a periwinkle is going to have very often a flip. So it's going to be like a blue with a purple flip. And I have a perfect version of it in my singles purple palette. I showed you this one from Sydney Grace in my previous video. But this is my one of my favorite periwinkles that I currently own. It's Calx by Cleona. Let me see if I can hold it up to the camera by itself so we're not distracted by anything else, because then you can see what I mean. Like it looks blue, and then when the light hits it, it has this pinky purple flash. So I think Calx by Cleona, this is one of their round pans, which I don't think they ever restocked since I got mine. But some of those shimmers I have from that collection, till this day, they are some of my favorites. So this is going to give a very different vibe compared to the Inglot one. But like I said, my Inglot version is like the very first time I ever found a periwinkle. So that's why it's special. And here is Cleona. You can see just the straight up light blue. And then when the light hits it, you can see that sort of pinky purpley tone coming through. That's sort of the vibe I'm going for nowadays. So those were two of the offerings that I have in my current singles collection, but everything else is in a palette. A lot of them are also by indie brands, and one that I hadn't clocked, but I was just like going through it because I really had to dig through my makeup collection to try and find all of these. And it's like, doesn't this have a periwinkle? And then I realized the It's Freaking Bats, one of the reasons why I've kept it is because it has periwinkles in. I love the matte, but this shimmer, it's called Zero. And it is really pretty. So this is the Betty Bean collab with Shroud that they did a couple of years ago that really put the brand on the map, but they couldn't handle the demand. So I believe when I ordered mine, I got it on release and it didn't come until like 6 months later because the brand was struggling so much. The brand is no longer in business, but here is what Zero looks like. It is perhaps pulling a little bit more purple here, but I do feel it fits that periwinkle sort of vibe. Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde has a shade in that I feel could pass for a periwinkle, but it's not like a true periwinkle, but it is really beautiful, so I wanted to feature it here. It is this sort of like purpley blue shade. It's called Nebula, and it has this really nice sparkly shimmer. It is one of my favorite shimmers in this palette, and I don't know, it's a little bit difficult to categorize because if I look at it on my finger, I'm like, yeah, it's also got a lot of gray in, so I'm not entirely sure whether that can then fall into the periwinkle category. Ooh, this has gotten really dry. This doesn't swatch the best, so I think the on the back of my finger, it's a little bit better than what it looks like here. This definitely needs a bit of a primer for it to stick down properly, but you can see that this leans a little bit more grayish, purpley blue. I think it works really well, and it does have a lot of sparkle running through it, which is probably because this is an older palette. The formula has probably dried out a little bit. So with a primer, it's still going to be fine and it's going to stick down. Like, it's not crumbling out of the pan or anything, right? So that's why you need to get worried about your eyeshadows. But yeah, that glittery sort of aspect is making this a little bit difficult to pick up with a finger. We all know that this is currently in my Shop My Stash for April because I just love the Nabla Soul blooming in the springtime, and I always loved the periwinkles that this has. It's got three, it's got a deeper tone, and then it has this like very light matte, but it is the shimmer in here that really sold me on this palette. However, nowadays I tend to reach for the peachy tones this has. I've done a complete 180 on this palette. I used to always go into the periwinkles or combine the peaches with the periwinkles, and now I'm like, nah. This is very thin though. It's not super pigmented. Like this palette is years old, but it is a little bit more sheer and it's got a little bit more pink running through it. So it is a beautiful shade. It looks a little bit more purple here. It looks a little bit more purple here compared to everything else, but it's a beautiful periwinkle. I think it looks lovely. Now, when I do, because I haven't used it yet this month, I'm still in the midst of testing out all the eyeshadow palettes that I had selected for April. I thought I had more opportunity to do looks with the new things that were in, but then I had my little DIY disaster that when I painted my wall, it wasn't a disaster. It turned out okay, but it just ended up taking twice as long as I had expected. I had a couple of extra days off because I was like, I won't have much of a weekend otherwise. And then almost every single day that I was off, I spent working on that wall. So wasn't doing a lot of makeup during that time. Oh well. The Lavish by ColourPop. This is really beautiful. It's essentially an old periwinkle palette. It's called Lavish, and I just feel it's just not a good name for it because yes, these are purpley tones, but they're all very blue heavy, at least on me. And for me, it's really the shade in the middle that I feel stands out, but I also like this one that's a little bit deeper. It has this like blue, like a white with a blue purpley flip. It's got some amazing things in, but I'm just gonna swatch the shade in the middle for you because I think that's the one that captures the periwinkle vibes the best. And here is what that looks like. You can just see, like, it's got this really pretty hint of blue there. Yeah. See, I don't understand why they called this palette lavish, because it's not that lavender. It's more of a periwinkle, really, and I love that shimmer. It's really pretty. It's got more of a satiny feel to it, but then it does have the impact, you know? And then before we get to Bella Beauté Bar, there is also a beautiful multi-chrome in the Winter Wonderland that does have a warm flip. But in my brain, like, there's just a couple of things in here, like this could be a periwinkle, this could be a periwinkle, but it's really this shade here, which is never my favorite, but it has this like greeny blue vibe and then a peachy flip. This isn't a very unique multi-chrome. If you buy an eyeshadow palette that has a multi-chrome in and they just stick to the basics, shades like this are rampant in the world of makeup. But you can see it looks a little bit more green compared to everything else. But you have a lot of these that just have this like bluish green sort of vibe, and then it just has that warmer toned flip. I think they can fit in really well with periwinkles, which is why I'm swatching it here. Like I said, there would be a couple of rogue options just to have a nice number of shadows to chat about. This is one that I was a little unsure of, and then I'm swatching it all next to everything else. I'm like, yeah, it's too green for it to be a true periwinkle, but I think I'm going to redeem myself with the selections from my Bella Beauté Bar palettes. There's one in the Dark Dreamscape. There's one in the, well, there's nothing but periwinkles really in the Sassy Fairy one. And of course in the Crystallize. I told you guys when I tested this out in March that this shade right here, what's it called? It's Opalite. This shade here is my favorite in the entire palette, and for good reason. Not only is it like a periwinkle, oh, it's so beautiful. It does have a bit of green running through it as well though, now that I look at it again, but it definitely fits that bill. I think you could even like, this is perhaps a little bit too purple for it to be a periwinkle. This is a good blurple. It just has some really good things in. So I love that. Oh no. It does have a green flash. Ooh, there you have the green flash, but it really depends on how the light hits it, what it looks like. It's just such a good multi-chrome that, oh, yeah. It's like lavender, bluish, purple. And then the flip is like yellow to green to bright blue. It's such an amazing shade. I, like, honestly, just for that one shade, I'm already happy that I bought this palette. Like, it's just such a good one. It's just such a good one. The Dark Dreamscape also has one. Again, is this a true periwinkle? I'm not entirely sure, but this holographic purpley shade definitely has that blue undertone that I find a lot of periwinkles to have. We also have some really beautiful lavender shades in here. I think this, like, it's like a blurple, but a matte. Like, it's not a shimmer. And it has some turquoises and stuff in there. I really want to swatch this shade, but this is very orange, actually, once you start swatching it. It does have that blue, purple, but then has a very strong peachy, gold, pink sort of vibe to it. Another amazing shade from Bella Beauté Bar, but I'll swatch upside down for you because I think that's the closest to, like, a deeper periwinkle shimmer that I think can fit the bill for what this video is about. Oh, it's so pretty. I do struggle making holographic shades like this look good on me because it has such a deep base for the multidimensional sparkle to really show up. And what I like about the look of a holographic shade in a full-on swatch or in the pan, I struggle to get it to translate to my lids if I'm not like applying it full-on. Like, you have to commit and really focus on that shade to make it look right. I feel the same way about a lot of multi-chromes, by the way. I don't find that looks that have multiple multi-chromes in really do the job. So I feel that with multi-chromes, you have to be so careful how you place them because it is the fact that it is on your eyes in a certain way that's going to make it look multidimensional when it's applied. And I feel a similar way actually about holographic shades. But yeah, when this hits the light, like this, it's such a boring shade, but then the light hits it. There we go. And it just, do you see that? It has this really amazing blue, purpley flash. There is a bit of pink in there, but it's a good shade. It's a really good shade. And like I said, the Sassy Fairy Realms of Fairies collab that they did is one of my favorite palettes by them, but they have so many good things in here. I don't even know which one to swatch because overall this is a blue, gray, purple color story that has so many good things in. My brain is telling me to swatch this one for you, but this is actually my favorite shade in the palette. But that's like a light, just a blue. So I'm gonna swatch the multi-chrome. I think it's actually really similar to some of the things we've already swatched. It reminds me a little bit of Lucid Lavender by Touch of Glam, but here it is. It's so beautiful, so, so beautiful. Let me swatch it right here. Yeah. And again, it has quite a bit of green. It's actually quite similar to the Winter Wonderland shade now that I look at it this way. But here it is. Ooh, that's very green, right? But then when you turn your hand the other way, you can see that purpley sort of vibe that it has. It's such a beautiful shade. Really, really stunning. So yeah, these are some periwinkles that I really enjoy in my makeup collection. So many good options. It's just, especially a periwinkle shimmer can just be so fun and almost whimsical. It's very fairy-like, you could say. So that's why I like it as well. So here again, you have the swatches one more time. And that's it, you guys. Those were my favorite periwinkle shades. So thanks so much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Check back for more, because I do make 4 videos a week on this channel. And this is a running series where every month I pick a color category and I swatch 10 shades that are my favorite that fit that color, that sort of section of colorful shades. So let me know if there's any colors you still want me to make sure I get to this year. I have a little list of things I want to feature, so we're gonna do things like golds and stuff. I have an entire plan, so it should be okay, you could say. So yeah, those are just my favorite periwinkle shimmers. By the way, I do have a second channel as well, so you can check out other things than just makeup if you want. It's linked in the description box down below, as well as all my other socials. And if you were looking to buy any of these things, I do have a code as well with Monolith. I'm not sure when I will be posting this video, because I do know they have their sale on the 26th of April, and around the few days before and after the sale, my code is usually not active. So just so you know, if I do happen to post this video during that weekend, know that my code isn't working the day you may be watching this video, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, thanks so much for being here. Thumbs it up, and then I hope to see you again really, really soon in a new video. Bye-bye.